Kia ora koutou, what's up?
Chuggers!
Welcome to the Church of Chug. Today we are looking at A shape, not just any shape, but the A shape, the A-shaped chord, like when you play an A, is what I'm talking about. As I have often said, I have stumpy fingers. So I always found it difficult, or difficile, as you might say, to play this A shape when you've got to try and get the second fret of the D string, second fret of the G string, second fret of the B, and still have that tiny little E string ringing out. I find it very difficult to do, especially in a gig situation where I'm expecting myself to run around like an idiot and play while I'm lying on my back or whatever. So I cheat. That's how I do it. So here's my cheat. Just go like that. I'm a big fan of one finger chords, so I can still hear the A ring out, A string, and I'm getting a lot of the coverage that you'd expect from an A chord. Well, at least the D and the G string. Sometimes I get a bit of the B, and I just completely mute the high E string usually. It sounds okay-ish. So this A shape can be moved up and down the fretboard. So I just can play the third fret of the A string for a C, for example, and then I'll just stumpify a lot of the notes on the fifth fret. Stumpify is when you put your stumpy fingers across them. So I've got to at least get the D and the G string, then I might get the B string in there, and I'm not worried too much about trying to get the third fret of the E string. Just playing the strings in the middle. That's good enough. So there's an A shape. I'm leaping ahead here now, but check this out. The caged system, which is what I'm talking about these days, says that I can move the G shape around as well. Here's a G. I always play, when I'm playing a G, I put the third fret of the B string as well. I just think it sounds better than if you don't. Oh, actually that sounds quite nice. Changed my mind. But let's say I'm going to do that. So when I play a C, as I just showed you, with this A shape that I've moved up, you can see how it relates to the G chord. I could also play the top of, well, depending on which way you're looking at it, right? This is the top of the guitar. That's the top of that. Except, crucially, I am not playing the A string. I'm muting it with the underneath of my little finger. Or I'm trying to. And that means that I'm hearing the 8th fret of the E string. I'm hearing the 5th fret of the D, G, and maybe B strings. Why would I want to do that? Now I'm going to show you this trick. It's clickbait fritters from now on. This one simple trick, honestly though, God, don't you hate it when people say that? But honestly, you'll hear this a lot in all sorts of songs. I'll start with an actual A chord. Here's what you're going to hear a lot of. There I've added the 4th fret of the D string and the 3rd fret of the B string. You'll hear it a lot in good old rock and roll.
Rock music.
And the great thing here is if you get this wrong and you get the 4th fret of the G string instead of the D, it's also cool. I mean, if you were clever enough, you could even make a whole song out of that type of deal. Or if you're the Rolling Stones, you could make 100 songs out of that kind of thing. Now, if I want to do that with the C chord, this is how you play the A-shaped C chord, right? But I can forget about the C here and just play the D, G and B strings. Sometimes you want that chugging low note though. You want to we're here for Chug. This is the Church of Chug after all.
Church of Chug.
So what I've done, I'm using that kind of fake G shape where I put my little finger on the 8th fret of the E string. So now I can move that anywhere I want to on the fretboard. That's probably my favourite little chord ornamentation. You start to put together a lot of little tricks that you can keep in a bag, like a bag of tricks. A bag of tricks, as we say in New Zealand, tricks, that you can use in lots of different situations. And there's some extensions to those ornamentations that I can go through next time, but just start to get used to adding those in different positions. You can start by when I'm doing that C one, don't worry about reaching for the 8th fret of the E string, just look at the 5th fret on the D, G and B. If you're playing with a full band, then someone else is going to be playing the low note there anyway, probably. So you can just worry about these ones. If you're doing solo stuff, it's kind of handy to be able to cover the bass note as well. Don't worry about it for now. Don't worry about it. It's Chug, not like exams. Why does it sound so good? Well, let's go back to this G shape again, where I've got 3rd fret of the E string and the open D, G and B. When I ornament it with those little hammer on, I think I could be wrong. Let's face it, I probably am, but it could be the plagal cadence. Amen. So it's pretending, it's hinting at going from a C chord to a G. Almost a C, G. So if you look at where I put my fingers on, where I've added that ornamentation, if instead of holding the 3rd fret of the E string, I hold 3rd fret of the A string, that's a C chord. So it's adding some notes to a G chord that sound a little bit like a C chord. They hint at the C chord. So if I was in A, it would be hinting towards a D chord. See? And all I need to do is add 5th fret of the A string to get that full D. So it adds a little tension to what you're playing. And the great thing about tension in your music is tension and release create interest for the listener. And if you create interest for the listener, then they will be more likely to listen to you again next time. So, not very chuggy, this episode, but I tell you what, that is so useful. And if you try listening to other songs, and I'm sure you can do it. You can do it. You can listen to other songs, especially songs of the classic rock variety. You'll hear that kind of ornamentation all throughout it. And then you'll come back to this video and you'll click like, and you might even subscribe, because you'll see that I was right, and you were right to trust me. And I want to thank you for joining me on this journey
into Chug.
Chug you later.